Hello everyone, this is my felt heart sandwich cookie tutorial. Here I am showing some examples of ones that I've already made and the materials that I'll be using to make this today. So I'm using those chalk pastels for the color at the end. And then this is what you have to cut out. 2 circles for the cookie part, 2 circles for the jam, and a red long strip. Here I'm just drawing out the heart that I will be cutting out. I have to go back in and kind of neaten up this heart a little bit. Try to make it look nice and neat. Here I'm taking just one red strand of embroidery thread, which I will use to assemble the jam center of this cookie. So I knot it and put it on a string. Here I am doing a blanket stitch around using the one red strand of embroidery thread. Also, I forgot to mention that I'm using a stiff felt for the inside jam part, but you could also do this with a regular softer felt. Just this one's a bit sturdier. That's why I'm also having trouble poking this needle through, but I end up getting it at the end, so it's all good. Also, I'm sorry for getting out of frame so frequently. I really have to work on making sure that I am in frame and not blurry, which that's gonna blame my iPhone for that because it keeps going out of focus, okay? But I know I am out of frame sometimes, pretty often. So putting this together, the jam part, is honestly the most time-consuming part because it's like an awkward thing to blanket stitch this long strip onto a circle. So I mean, I don't know if there's an easier way to do this, but this is how I'm doing it. So obviously I am struggling, but you end up finishing it at the end. Making this weird like cylindrical jam thing that I put in the middle makes me want to make like a large cake using this stiff felt because it's like holding up the shape so well. Like I could make like a 3-tiered felt cake with this stuff. So finally, after who knows how long, like 45 hours of blanket stitching this circle, I am getting towards the end and I notice it's a little bit long, so I will cut that shortly. But I am just taking forever doing this blanket stitch here. Alright, finally I am cutting that little extra piece that's overlapping right there. Okay, and then I'm just stitching that long rectangular piece to each other because there's like a gap in the middle right there. Alright, now I got that bottom piece done. Now this is actually the trickier part of blanket stitching the top circle onto this jam center. So I will be again blanket stitching this. Again, I am blurry and out of frame, but hopefully I get back in frame and focus that video soon because this whole part is blurry. Yeah, this part was a little tricky to do. It's like awkward to hold that piece and then do a blanket stitch. Again, is there a better way to do this? I don't know. I'd have to watch more videos on people making this exact shape for something, but I don't know. Also, if you don't even want to make this thing for the center, you could just do a circular one piece of red felt and then sandwich that together, and you just won't have as thick of a cookie. Now, towards the end, I'm going to leave a little hole and stuff it up a little bit so it doesn't just flatten out in the sandwich. Just stuff until it's full, and then I will continue with the blanket stitch to close that hole up. Finally, I am done, and I'm just gonna knot that and cut the extra string off. Finally, I am back to the cookie part, or am I just to the cookie part? I'm not back, or am I? Anyways, I'm doing the blanket stitch on this one piece of felt, so it has like a nice little border. I am just using one string for this, one piece of embroidery string, and just blanket stitching all the way around. Now I'm gonna knot that and cut the extra off. I think this is the funnest part about this. It is using the chalk pastels, and I scrape some off to get that color. And I put a couple pieces of paper down so I'm not making a mess on my desk. So I am just scraping off the colors that I choose, like the dark brown, like a terracotta kind of orange. Those two colors are the two main that I use. And I'm just going to use a brush and just lightly dust that onto the edges. When you pick up some of that powder, you do want to just like tap off a little extra, because this stuff is really powdery. This is like the first time I've tried this method of using like a colored like powder on felt. I've seen other people use like literally like makeup and do the same thing. I just didn't have any makeup, so I'm using chalk. I don't know which is better or which lasts longer, because there's no way to like secure this color onto the felt. I feel like it just like eventually will wear off. So I don't want to spray it in any sort of like clear like spray or anything. Anyways, I did shape the inside as well, like the jam part. I just did not get that on camera. So here I'm attaching that heart piece onto the part of jam that I had shaded. And I would be doing the whip stitch here. I entered from the back of the jam, because that part you won't see at the end. This takes me a while to do because that stiff felt is pretty hard to get into and do this whip stitch, because I'm just like grazing that top of that stiff felt when I'm going inside the needle there. So I'm excited to do more with it, like that cake that I mentioned earlier. I'll probably do that eventually, but just when. Okay, last stitch. And I'll go through the back again, like how I entered from, and knot it on the back. Now I'm just gonna add some highlights with this shiny white embroidery thread. Again, just one string. Adding some highlights to this, the jam part of the cookie, because like jam always looks a little shiny, and without it, it just looks so flat. Finally, we're putting on that back piece of the cookie onto the whole cookie. I don't really know what I'm doing here. Like, I'm just attaching it. Whatever way you want to attach that back piece, where you can't see any string from the back, that's a great way to do it. But here, I think I'm doing something like a ladder stitch, if you could see, which you can't because I'm out of frame all the time. But, like, if you do get the pleasure of seeing what I'm doing, I guess, I think I'm doing something like a ladder stitch here, going back and forth from that red jam part to back to the cookie part, and just getting that top piece of that each felt, just the top piece. I'm not going through the felt, I'm just going like through, like how a ladder stitch is, like that way. Once I'm done with this, you won't see any of this thread that I'm putting in from the back piece. It's literally just attaching it to each other. Now I'm just knotting it a couple times to make sure everything's good and secure. Now I'm all done here. I've made a couple of them now. I think the one I just made is my favorite, but that one, and then there's the larger one that is also like a thinner cookie. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe this video. Or like this video, subscribe to me. Okay, bye.